All right. This is our community's house. We are all guests in it here to serve our community. My name is Mike Little, Mayor of the District of North Vancouver, and the pleasure falls to me to welcome you all here to our regular meeting of council for Monday, February 2nd at 7 o'clock. I'd like to start off in a good way, and Councillor Hanson is offered to read our acknowledgement.
We respectfully acknowledge the original peoples of these lands and waters, specifically the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam, on whose unceded ancestral lands the District of North Vancouver is located. We value the opportunity to learn, share, and serve our community on these unceded lands.
Thank you very much. Okay, Council, we have an agenda that's been circulated. Any errors or omissions from the agenda is presented? Hearing none, will someone move its adoption? Moved by Councillor Murray, second by Councillor Back. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Council, we have a set of, was that for the last meeting? You don't have meeting minutes on this one? Yes, we have a set of meeting minutes from the December 2nd public meeting and the January 12th regular council meetings that have been circulated with the package. Any errors or omissions from those meeting minutes is presented. Okay, moved by Councillor Back. Is there a seconder? Seconded. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried and those meeting minutes are adopted. We reserve a period of up to 30 minutes at the front end of every regular meeting of council for input from the public. And so people can sign up ahead of time through the clerk's office, or if you're here or joining us virtually, once we get to the end of the sign up list from ahead of time, we will check with the room and check with the virtual participants to see if anyone else would like to add their comments. We typically get through about 10 speakers before that time if we're going full time, and then we'll move on with the meeting at that point. We do have 5 speakers who have signed up ahead of time for 2 agenda items. And so I'm going to go to Margaret Sage to start us off. Come on up. I'm going to make you sit in the front table here. And we do have, please.
Sorry, new to me.
Yeah. So I should say our meeting is being held in a hybrid format. That means we have members of the public, members of staff participating virtually or in person. Tonight you have all members of the council here present. So you have 7 members of council participating. Welcome. When you are comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your opportunity to speak today. And my name is Marg Lesage, and I own Dog Zen, a commercial dog walking company in North Vancouver. First, I want to sincerely thank the district for launching that People, Dog and Park Strategy Survey. Taking the time to ask for public input matters, and it shows a willingness to listen to the people who use these parks and trail systems every day. I want to speak specifically about the importance of commercial dog walking in North Vancouver. Professional dog walkers provide a valuable service, not only to our clients, but to the broader community. We are trained, insured, accountable, and experienced for managing dog safety in our public spaces and on trails. When this work is properly done, it reduces problem behavior, improves dog welfare, and helps keep parks safer for everyone. However, I feel one of the biggest issues right now is illegal dog walking. At the moment, there appears to be little to no enforcement. Unlicensed dog walkers continue to operate without permits, insurance, or oversight. And this undermines those of us who are following the rules. We need a real way to address this, whether through enforcement, a clearer reporting system, or updated regulations. Doing this is not an option, in my opinion. Online platforms like Rover make this problem worse. A simple Google search for North Vancouver dog walkers returns hundreds of results, many of which are unlicensed. Rover in particular allows people to operate without local permits or accountability, effectively bypassing the system. This hurts legitimate businesses and creates safety risks for the public, dogs, and the environment. It is also important to recognize that commercial dog walkers are not the only users of the trail systems. Hikers, mountain bikers, family, recreational dog owners, and runners all share these spaces. Singling out professional dog walkers without addressing overall trail use does not solve the problem. Another idea worth considering is not allowing businesses based outside the District of North Vancouver, such as those from Vancouver or the broader Lower Mainland, to obtain permits or take on commercial dog walking clients here. This would help protect the local businesses and reduce overuse of already strained trail systems. Trail access is another major concern. While reducing access points, it can help limit public interaction. Removing 2 trailheads without replacing one has had a serious impact as a group of commercial dog walkers come together to offer solutions, including a detailed set of recommendations and proposals for additional access points located away from the high traffic areas. Finally, the importance of more off-leash trails cannot be overstated. When properly designated and managed, off-leash access supports dog welfare, reduces conflict, and helps distribute trail use more evenly across the park system. In closing, commercial dog walkers are not the problem. We are part of the solution. With fair enforcement, clear rules, and better trail access, we can work together to create a more safe and balanced park system for everyone.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Next speaker I have is Danielle O'Neill, joining us here in person. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Good evening, Mayor Little and the members of council. My name is Danielle and I own and operate Treks for Pets, a licensed commercial dog walking business in North and West Vancouver. I am here today because I have serious concerns about the lead up to the People, Dogs and Parks Strategic Plan and the way decisions have been made ahead of its release, particularly as they affect the safety of my staff, the viability of my business, and the residents who depend on our service to support responsible dog ownership in an urban environment. Although this plan is being presented as a strategic framework, the impacts on commercial dog walkers are already being felt on the ground. Over the past year, commercial dog walkers have experienced real changes on trail access with very little communication or professional consultation. Access at Braemar East and Braemar Dempsey was removed with limited notice, in one case less than 24 hours, following more than 15 years of permitted and established commercial use. These removals were then followed by direction to use Kilmer Trail as an alternative, an unmaintained trail access from a busy roadway. Despite multiple safety concerns being raised since March 2025, no changes have been made to address those concerns, and repeated attempts to engage in further discussions have not been supported. Each time trail access is removed or condensed, it forces more dog walkers into fewer spaces. That increases congestion, raises the risk of incidents, and can actually lead to greater environmental impact than a well-distributed managed access. As acknowledged in the plan, North Vancouver has seen an increase in both people and dogs. Many residents live in condos without private outdoor space and work full-time. And the commonly accepted guidance that dogs should not be left alone for extended periods, typically no more than 4 to 6 hours, professional dog walking is essential for many households. My concern with this plan is not its intent, but the direction it sets. Given the action taken by the district leading up to this plan, there is real concern that the vagueness in the wording signals further loss of trail access and increased restrictions for commercial dog walkers. Rather than an approach that adapts to the growing demand created by an increased number of residents and dogs in this community. My ask tonight is that before further changes to trail access, permits, or enforcement frameworks are implemented, commercial dog walkers are meaningfully consulted and treated as partners. Behind this industry are local small business owners, employees, and the residents who rely on us every day to ensure their dogs are cared for safely and responsibly. This business is my livelihood, and I urge you to consider the real human impacts of these decisions as we move forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your comments, Danielle O'Neill. The next speaker I have is Jane Scott, also joining us here in person. When you're ready, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening, and thank you to the district staff, particularly the Parks Department, for the extensive work that has gone into the People's Dogs and Parks strategy. It's clear a great deal of time, consultation, and thoughtful planning has gone into balancing the needs of all park users. My name is Jane Scott, and I'm a licensed commercial dog walker operating in the district of North Vancouver. I'm one of 40 companies licensed by the district. the majority of which are small local businesses. I appreciate that this strategy recognizes dogs as an important part of our community and emphasizes education, stewardship, and shared responsibilities. One important context I'd like to highlight is the significant growth in both population and dog ownership over particularly the last 5 years. With that growth has come a noticeable increase in trail use. Our trail network is being used more frequently and by more people than ever before, making thoughtful planning, clear rules, and effective enforcement increasingly important. With that context in mind, I'd like to briefly speak on 2 areas particularly relevant to licensed commercial dog walkers. First, the issue of illegal and unlicensed dog walking. Licensed commercial dog walkers operate under permits, carry insurance, follow group size limits, and comply with bylaws designed to protect parks, wildlife, and other users. When unlicensed operators operate without oversight or accountability, it undermines the system the district has put in place, especially as trail use continues to increase. Continued education and enforcement in this area is essential to maintaining fairness, safety, and environmental protection. Second, I want to emphasize the importance of continued and meaningful collaboration with licensed commercial dog walkers as bylaws affecting our industry are reviewed and revised, and as opportunities to expand, better utilize the existing trail system, to better utilize the existing trail system are explored. As population and dog numbers continue to grow, access to more safe and appropriate trail options becomes increasingly important for everyone. Over the past year, I've met with district staff in person on 2 occasions and have engaged in ongoing communication through emails and phone calls. We have also shared trail use information, on-the-ground observations that we believe can help inform planning decisions. This has created a solid foundation of information and sharing and trust, and it demonstrates that productive collaboration is already underway. As the strategy itself notes, licensed commercial dog walkers will be consulted by bylaw revisions as bylaw revisions are considered. I want to clearly emphasize the importance of following through on that commitment. Ongoing meaningful consultation is critical to ensuring the future bylaw changes and trail planning are informed by real-world experience and practical to enforce and align with the goals and principles outlined in this strategy. Again, thank you, everyone. Sorry, that went over.
No, thank you very much for your comments, Jane Scott. The next speaker I have joining us virtually is Adi Cabazo.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff of the District of North Vancouver. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. Thank you for the opportunity to share a few brief comments this evening. My name is Adi Cabazo, and I'm here in 2 capacities, as a pet owner from Vancouver and as the operator of Pet Parker Canada. As a pet guardian, my family and I greatly value the district's natural spaces. Our family includes our dog Sophie, and we frequently visit to enjoy the district's beautiful, vast, and well-maintained trail network. These off-leash opportunities are essential not only for local residents, but also for people from neighboring communities who come here specifically to enjoy nature with their dogs. Our visits also contribute to the local economy. We often combine time on the trails with a meal or shopping. I want to raise the issue of off-leash space scarcity at a regional level. This is already a major challenge in neighboring jurisdictions. Metro Vancouver is also considering highly controversial changes to its off-leash trails at Pacific Spirit Regional Park this Wednesday, which further underscores the importance of the decisions made here in the district. In my second role as the head of Pet Parker, the only operating service of its kind in North America, I want to emphasize the need to proactively address the issue of unsupervised dogs in public spaces. This challenge reflects the reality that pet-owning households of all forms and income levels need to include their dogs in daily errands, whether picking up groceries or stopping by the public library. From my review, despite being widespread and recurring, this issue is not explicitly addressed in Action 6.8 of the draft plan. Unattended pets on sidewalks undermine accessibility, and significantly increase risks to both people and animals, and I urge the district to consider addressing this gap. 2 weeks ago, a dog tied outside the Lynn Valley grocery store got loose and bolted, causing real distress in the community. Situations involving dogs at large can end badly, particularly when smaller pets, children, or seniors are involved, or when vehicle traffic is nearby. Unsupervised animals are also a regular occurrence in parked cars and at popular destinations throughout Deep Cove and at the Lynn Canyon Cafe. These situations place unnecessary strain on residents, businesses, animal services, and first responders. They are preventable through a combination of education, such as signage, appropriate enforcement, and proven practical solutions like the ones offered by Pet Parker, a free, self-service, monitored, and safer alternative to the status quo of leashed dogs on sidewalks or in parked cars. Finally, I would like to commend the district on the draft plan. I've been reviewing similar efforts across Canada, and this plan goes well beyond the bylaw and sets a high bar for others to follow. Thank you for your time and for your continued leadership on this important issue.
Thank you for comments, Adi Cabazo. Okay, next speaker I have joining us virtually is Hazen Colbert. Move Mr. Colbert over. Mr. Colbert, can you hear me? You are muted in the system, Mr. Colbert. Oh, there you go. Mr. Colbert, can you hear me?
I speak tonight solely on a business issue and only for myself. I do not speak for any other person nor organization nor in any way in the context of, nor do I take any position related to truth and reconciliation, land acknowledgements, culture, social services, healthcare and education, residential schools, treaty rights, or ejido, the simple land regimes. I use the word Indian because it is mandated and charged to me to use under the Indian Act. I refer to Section 37. I round the population of the district to 100,000 people. Using a legion of sources, I have determined that the Indian population of the DNV living on a resource is defined under the Act at 5,000 people or 5% of the total of the DNV. I have rounded the cost of the North Shore wastewater treatment plant to $4 billion, a number which I believe will be exceeded. 5% of 4 billion is 200 million, which is the liability of the reserved-based status Indian population of the DNV for the plant. Under Section 87 of the Indian Act, lands are exempt from property tax, but not utility fees. Gas, electricity, and sometimes potable water are exempt from GST and PST because title for those utilities pass on the Indian Reserve. Wastewater services are historically not titled, but if they are now titled due to modern processing at a wastewater treatment plant, the title passes off reserve under what is known broadly as the connecting tests and the guidelines. Thus, GST and PST is applicable. I have asked in writing and on more than one occasion to DNV staff, this council, the chair of Metro Vancouver and the chair of the Metro Vancouver Wastewater Committee, how the $200 million liability for that plant is being passed to the reserve Indian population of the DNV, which of course I state under the Act. No response from any party has been received by me. The Indian Act bars any exemption for that levy being created under such non-business concepts as truth and reconciliation and other social and political constructs which do not apply to a pure, cold, hard business liability. I take no position other than compliance with statute and accounting principles. I request again, I again request disclosure, and I do not understand why I have not received it. I am speaking virtually tonight because I am not welcome in person in council chambers, and I fear for my safety if I was to speak in person. Please, tonight, I thank you for your time, but please mark your calendars for a deadline of February the 6th, 2026 at 10 a.m. for a full written material response, including particulars for this request. Thank you, Council.
Thank you for your comments, Hazen Colbert. Would anybody else like to address the council this evening? Mr. Lesso, welcome. And then Stephanie. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, members of council. I trust you have received the enclosed photos and memos that I submitted earlier regarding the closure of the Chevron in Edgemont and the Columbus Market in Edgemont. But just to repeat, the Chevron should not be demolished or converted to anything other than a service station upgrade from a gas bar to a full service station, complete with garage and automotive services like it was before. We do not need another schlock condo development in the heart of Edgemont. The Columbus Market, despite what some of us have been led to believe, is closed and will apparently no longer be selling produce. An alternative to use, an alternative or conditional use to open a liquor store on the site is being considered. More booze, less food for the residents of Edgemont. So I ask you again, is either of these developments in the best interests of the residents of the Edgemont neighborhood? I submit it is not. Can you change or stop either? Will you? That remains to be seen. Now, since they've spoken earlier this evening about the problems in using trails and congestion, I'll just add this. Vancouver has recently been ranked as the most congested city in Canada. More than Toronto, more than Montreal. Have you considered minor and very inexpensive parking modifications submitted to council last month by myself to help reduce congestion within the bounds of the district? Or will they be ignored? As a 10-year resident, I would appreciate the courtesy of an answer at your early convenience. And I raise this because this was raised 3 years ago when I was on the executive of the EUCCA. It seems like you're ignoring this, and I would really like an answer. I'm also going to give you something tonight about girth growth. That's also something that I submitted 3 years ago. It's pretty simple to solve this problem if you want to look at it closely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Lesso, if you have materials to leave behind, the black tray just to your left is will be copied and circulated to council. Okay. Thank you. Next speaker I have is Stephanie. Come on down. And I'll just remind virtual participants, if you'd like to raise your virtual hand, we'll move you over to the panel for your comments. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. I am here tonight to talk about supportive housing, or more specifically, my frustration with the slow progress. I attended the 1200 East Keith open house on November 8th, 2023. I was here for 5 nights of public hearings, and I was here on February 5th, 2024, when the application was unanimously approved by council. Now it's February 2nd, 2026, so happy almost 2-year anniversary. But the last update posted to the project's website was on July 12th, 2025. The West 16th Street Supportive Project went to council in the spring of 2021, and the last update on that webpage is July 29th, 2025. The Lillooet Road site went to a public hearing and council approval slightly before 1200 East Keith, and the last update was May 26th, 2025. Rezoning for Riverside Drive was adopted in December 2021, and the next public information session doesn't start until next week on February 9th. I understand that housing takes time, but I don't feel that these projects are priorities. To me, the lack of engagement and lack of regular updates is a lack of commitment to projects that have already been approved by council. While these projects languish, the number of people experiencing homelessness has risen sharply since 2021, particularly among people who are homeless for the first time. People are losing housing due to job losses, to injuries and illnesses, to apartment fires, to horrifically long wait lists to access mental health and substance use care. People on fixed incomes cannot get ahead, and they are completely left behind as inflation rises. So people move into RVs and cars, and they're told that they can't be there. They move into tents, and they're told that they can't be there. People are visibly unhoused on the streets, and they're told to move on. So where are they supposed to go? I urge the district to close housing gaps while permanent projects move through development. Temporary transitional housing, such as modular housing, can help get people into stable housing while they wait for a permanent home. More innovative solutions like an RV parking lot give people somewhere to park that doesn't impede on businesses. And projects like Homeward Bound Vancouver Safe Park in Washington have demonstrable successes in building a safer community. Leaving people and projects to languish is not a solution. Housing is a human right, so let's make sure that everyone can have a safe home as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, would anybody else like to address council? Okay, I believe we've addressed all the people who wanted to speak, so I'm going to move on with the agenda for this evening's meeting. I will call on our delegation from Pemberton Avenue businesses to come down and get prepared at the table here. And I will just say we're going to go do a delegation, and a delegation is slightly different than regular public input. And regular input, you get 3 minutes to address the council. That's what we've just done. With a delegation, it's a special opportunity for organizations within the community to give us an update on their operations, and they have 5 minutes to make a presentation, followed by a question and answer period with the council. So at this point, I'd like to welcome representatives from Pemberton Avenue businesses. If you want to introduce yourself, that would help us get started, but you have 5 minutes to make your presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Frankie. I have a business on Pemberton Avenue. I've been in that area for 28 years. And this is my neighbor, business owner as well. You can introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Leah Gillanders. I own Leah's Auto, just off like Lloyd Street, Lloyd and 14th, near the old ICBC Center there, where we're having some issues.
Yeah.
I've been in business for 10 years there, and I try to bring a little bit of, I always try to bring the community together and do events and parties and block parties, and it's community is very important to me. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, our community is being brought together by not so nice things right now.
No. Go ahead. Yeah, it's been an ongoing issue for about the last 4 years. The amount of illegally parked RVs has, at one point within a 4-block radius, there was 89. Some of them are hard up and needed a home. They need a place to be, and they're having a housing problem. But I've noticed, I walk with and I talk to all of them. A lot of them are working at C-SPAN. A lot of them are working at the wastewater plant. Some of them have found a loophole. One gentleman has an apartment, but his RV is oversized and figured I'll just park there. Once he realized nothing was happening, he's rented out his apartment and is now living on 3rd Avenue. The issue is obviously parking for a lot of the businesses. Most of them have not moved, but we're still getting tickets. If there is a law, we would like for it to be clear, because right now it's very blurry. A lot of the business owners in that area, I do have a petition, I've left it in the car. There's over 500 names in a 4-block radius, and that just was in a day and a half of going door to door, that are very unhappy because we're unable to park, our staff is unable to park, and that is just the parking issue. We also have a safety issue, where so many places have been broken into in the last 2 years. Cars have been vandalized.
There's drug paraphernalia and stuff around my shop. I have a walkway past my shop, and and you can't even walk there. I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
My customers don't feel safe. I'm losing business. And all the businesses are like that. There's a few dance studios in that area where they host young girls. Some of the residents of the motorhomes have been caught peering into the windows after hours. It's like 9 o'clock at night. They don't feel safe. We have to wait for police to show up to come escort the girls to their vehicles. A lot of times they're 16-year-old girls. I understand homelessness. I understand struggles. I mean, I'm born and raised in North Van. It's hard. It's hard to be here. I get it. But you can do things properly and still follow rules, still move your RV. If you are in an area and you need to go to work, like move it every few days like the rest of us. It's not fair for us as business owners and people just trying to do our business. I can't even have people park, let alone people feel safe walking past my stores. Really, it's hard. And I just didn't expect this in our city.
Yeah.
This is North Vancouver. It's one of the best places in the world. I know everybody wants to be here. I got that. But, I think I forget the name of the last presentator, what she was saying with the RVs and the homelessness, maybe there is a place for them to go. Maybe we need to open that back up. Maybe there's something like that. I don't know what the solution is, but it's not working right now with what it is.
Yeah, there's also sanitation problem. When you have 89 RVs in a condensed area, I ask you, where do you think they're going to the washroom? Where the tennis court is only open for so many hours. I've had to buy a shovel because I refuse to pick up anything that is attached to toilet paper. It's not a fun experience to pull into your parking spot in the morning and have things left and have your door vandalized. We've had
decent exposure.
Yeah.
They wake up in the morning and you get to see that right at your front door.
Yeah. And like I said, a lot of them, I can take you on a walk door to door. I know them all. A lot of them are working, and those are the ones I don't feel sorry for.
Okay.
Yeah. Come check it out.
So it's now a question and answer opportunity for the council. I guess my question about that specific issue. So we did track while the Acciona contract had ended before PCL had opened up, and we tracked the number while the wastewater treatment plant wasn't being worked on, and the number went up, not down during that time. And so we draw the conclusion that it's not been specifically driven by the construction of the wastewater treatment plant. Obviously, C-SPAN was in continuous operation during that time. Do you have any recommendations for how you obviously have been able to determine how many of them are working and living there? Do you have any recommendations for a reasonable way for us to determine that in the process? We have limited tools at our disposal for responding, but if there's a way to identify people who are there out of residential need versus people who are there for a strict.
We can get that number if you want that. We'll go door to door. We'll go knock and talk to them.
Honestly, some of them you can tell right off the bat. If there's an RV with an expensive motorcycle attached to it, or a Vespa, or a big Dodge Ram, they're not desperate.
Okay.
I mean, I watch Uber Eats being delivered. I can easily find out which ones are a little bit more desperate than others. My own personal story, I lived in a school bus as a child. I am forever grateful that the day my mom, as mentally ill as she was, when we moved to Vancouver, she loved it here. That was over almost 50 years ago. When we landed on the streets of Vancouver, the city of Vancouver knocked on our door at 8 p.m. and said, you need to move on. Packed up, we moved to Victoria. She loved Victoria even more than here. The sign said 8 to 8. At 8 o'clock at night, knock at the door, city of Victoria said, you need to move on. I am forever grateful that the city did that because she figured it out. And we went to Vancouver Island and we moved to Denman Island and we found a safe place to live. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is possible and there are options. North Vancouver is not a cheap place to live. And that's why people migrate. And if you can't afford it, sometimes you have to commute. And if they're working at the wastewater plant or C-SPAN and they just don't want to commute because they're from Coquitlam or they're on a contract from Calgary, I'm sorry, you have to commute if you can't afford it. Because if we go anywhere else in any other city, if I go to New York, I'd love to work and live in Manhattan while I'm there, but I'll probably have to commute from Brooklyn.
Mhm.
And that's all I'm saying. I'm not attacking the ones that are really need to be there. And I know there's been a big cleanup for the tents, but to me, those were the most desperate. And I hope they've been taken care of, but the other ones have not moved. And I understand that if there's no signs, that means 72 hours, right? These people are not moving.
Mhm.
And I don't understand. That's my question is, what is the difference between them and us? Because we're still getting ticketed. My clients are getting ticketed. Her clients are getting ticketed, but these people are not. And some of them are not very friendly. And they know, and I've talked to them and they're like, no, do whatever you want, because they know they've gotten away with it for the last 3 years. And so my question is, what is the difference? As far as parking and as far as cleanup and as far as how many dogs you're allowed to have off leash and indecent exposure, what is the difference? Why are we getting penalized if we do anything like that, but they aren't?
Don't have a good answer for you on the spot, except to say that, the province introduced Bill 45 last year, which was legislation, at the tail end of 2024. And it was legislation to make it so the municipalities could not evict or move a person off of a public, specifically a park, as an example, unless they were able to provide local shelter options that met the need of the individual. And it put a very high burden on municipalities to be able to respond to those situations. And so we do our best to identify the difference between someone who's in core housing need with mental illness and somebody who is choosing a lifestyle option, and we treat them very differently.
Mhm.
So if that's what I'm saying, if you believe there are better ways to identify fairly to distinguish, we're open to that, but we won't be supported by the courts in other situations. This is more of a question and answer period, and I probably shouldn't be going on about it, but Councillor Back, your comments, please.
Thank you very much for coming and speaking as a delegation, Frankie and Leah. I came down and met with you both down in your area, and I encourage you to come as a delegation because I was struck just by the issues that you're having to deal with each and every day, in addition to running your businesses. You're extremely compassionate people. Frankie, I'm glad that you told your personal story because I was touched by that when you told me when I was down there. I think, the big issue is that you felt like you weren't being heard by the district necessarily. So I think one of the things I'd like to challenge staff is to include this group. I think you've done a great job of connecting with all of the businesses in that area because let's face it, I think that area of our community is experiencing these issues the most, more than anywhere else. And
Yeah, I press you for a question.
I'm getting to it. Yep. These are not easy things to solve, and we know that. And you heard from the other speakers tonight about housing. I guess, what do you think would make the biggest difference?
Honestly, at the moment, the parking, if they had to move every 72 hours, because even if I still had to live in a bus right now, if I had to move every 72 hours, I may not get as comfortable. And I think that's part of the problem is it's becoming a hub where there's no rules. There's areas like the ICBC area, the old ICBC area. There's times you couldn't walk through there. And if you did, it was like, you're on our property. They had their barbecues, the dogs. You didn't know what you were stepping in. It wasn't safe. So I think as far as parking,
he had his weed plants out, like just pots of weed plants. And just like, I can have this. It's like, yeah, sure you can, but I mean, like, is that really what we want? The kids going to dance class walking past? No.
I think if you're going to live illegally, you can't stay more than 72 hours, even if it means you move a block, 2 blocks. You got to keep moving. You can't just plop yourself down somewhere and say, okay, now I'm here. Because there's other people that are paying taxes and trying to just get to work. And it's really difficult. It's very, very difficult to do our job. And Pemberton area is a beautiful neighborhood, or it was. But now if you drive down or if you walk down Pemberton, there's more and more for lease signs. And when I went door to door asking for petition, I got to meet some really cool people. 3 of them have moved out and they're going to Burnaby because they no longer want to be part of the District of North Vancouver because of that problem in there. And they're like, well, we're just going to move and just take the bridge over because it's going to be way better for us there. And I've been there for 28 years, but if I was to restart all over, I would not go in that area. I would not open a business in that area right now. And it has, at one point, it felt like it was going to boom. Mm-hmm. And then it just stopped after COVID.
I think timed parking and just at least getting them to follow those rules is a big solution, because we did put time parking in down on the lower end of Lloyd, which kind of shuffled them around a bit. And that's fine. And just like we said, there's going to be people in their motorhomes. There's going to be that stuff. But when you're airing out your dirty laundry, literally outside, and that if you're right, if you have to move and keep going on, you're not going to have clotheslines and your pot plants outside. So I think maybe more time parking.
Yeah. And I've had to call SPC and animal control on some heartbreaking things because of the abuse. It's no longer a pleasant area.
Thank you. You answered my question. And I'll just say thank you very much for coming tonight. And I think all of us around this table, while we have differing opinions on many issues, I think we all want to try and improve the situation there. And we have taken some steps, but I know there's going to be future conversations about more we can do. So
if I can just say one more thing, if you wanted to leave a few loopholes here and there for people to park their RVs, I think that would be great, but make it in different areas of the area. If you create a hub, nothing good
for you, and you'll get lots of opportunity to respond. Councillor Mary.
Thank you. Thanks for the delegation. And this is a very challenging issue. We've got another area called Bowser Island just on the highway.
Yeah.
Some of us feel not heard by the province and the challenges that we're facing in the region. The parking on Lloyd that you spoke about, that's working?
It was. They're starting to come back overnight. And because nothing is happening, they're leaving later and later in the day. So I'm going to guess by summer, it's going to be back to normal.
We need to
like
stay
or
on
what it
it.
was last
Yeah.
summer.
There less enforcement now? Has it did it sort of start and then peak and then peter out? Is that what you're experiencing?
It cleaned up completely, only on the Lloyd area, but that just meant they
Pushes it everywhere else.
into the areas, which caused a problem for the dance studios and for my studio because there was kids. But First Avenue is the same. Third Avenue, I feel sorry for the people that work on that street because there's no parking.
Yeah.
And their staff have to be escorted to their car.
Were you aware that C-SPAN at one time had a parking lot that accommodated their staff that were shift workers that were coming in from Seashelt or in some cases the island, Mission, Chilliwack?
Is that at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so you remember that?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Did they set up outhouses? Did they have
their own facilities within their trailers or their campers, and they were mates that would go out on the tugs. So they had a parking lot for their staff because they were coming in from other areas. But then when the new building was built, that parking lot was taken out. And I think that's been part of the challenge. So I think we need to contact C-SPAN. There's many challenges that they've got down there.
I have contacted C-SPAN about 2 years ago when I began. They basically said, that was before they had the parking. They said they will move them and that they were aware. They were very aware of their staff staying there.
Right. And then we'll also, I think, communicate with Metro Vancouver to determine the number of employees that are coming in if they are indeed using trailers to house them while they're coming into work on the plant. So I can request that information from Metro. And then Mr. Cohen, I'm just curious in regards to, we knew that putting restricted parking down on Lloyd would just move the problem. So what's our plan to address the parking situation as far as hourly, increased hourly and enforced parking as we move further west? Given the city's restricted the eastern side of McKay Creek, but I know that there's trailers behind Capilano Mall, for instance. You can see how they've moved.
Also behind Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
I'm going to interject a little bit. So it's for questions and answer from the delegation. If they have response and to share their concerns, if you have a very quick response to that, we'll let that go. But
through the mayor, we'll be reporting back with our planning colleagues in time with council.
Okay. And just on your enforcement, have you seen a regular visitation of enforcement in the area?
They were giving a lot of tickets. I think the enforcement went September 22nd. They had a month leeway in between there. And then there was a lot of tickets and a lot of them did move around and found different places. But then I personally haven't seen much. I'm not saying they haven't been
getting ticketed. I'm still getting ticketed as like for us and I even told them, I'm like, I don't care. If I messed up, I messed up. If I park longer than I'll pay the ticket. It is what it is. But what I want to know is that those other guys are getting ticketed too. Because I mean, we contribute. That's what we do. Follow the rules, right?
And I think the mayor answered the questions regard to the homelessness issue in the provincial government and what they're restricting us to do. And this is why we have this challenge with Bowser Island on ministry property. And we are constantly sort of going up against a wall. And it's very challenging, and we have to look after people. It's the options are immense. But thank you very much for your presentation, and we just need to continue to communicate with you and the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Pope.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. I am moved by your compassion and empathy and your story. And it occurred to me, I just wanted to really hear from you again the significance of how the increased enforcement actually led to a better life for you. Because I think so many of us we're including the bylaw officers, are so sensitive to moving and forcing extremely vulnerable people to move when they have nowhere else to go. In fact, I've been down there a couple of times and I bumped into a guy who went to my high school, is now living in his car down there. But
he actually burned his aunt's house down, that man.
Yes, that guy.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I know all of them.
Sure you do.
Yeah.
So thank you for your compassion towards them. And I just, so do you feel that we could increase enforcement in such a way that perhaps like have enforcement officers out there at night, like literally knocking on the door at 8 o'clock at night saying time to move? Do you think,
Absolutely.
yeah, that would help,
Don't you agree?
not hurt?
Safe for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's safe for them because I wouldn't feel safe doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty strong.
Yeah. The ones on 3rd Avenue near ICBC are a little quite violent, and they're the ones with the big dogs.
Yeah.
I would go in with, I mean, I'm sure you're not going to send just regular officers, I hope.
Right.
Not.
No, I'm just interested in your point about the fact that the harsher level of enforcement
sometimes
actually,
I feel like a lot of them have found a loophole. Living in a campground as a younger child, like I said, was not easy, but it gave me running water, showers, electricity, a safe environment, a community. And the thing I think that was most important is we were paying for something. When it's zero, there's no respect for anything around you. We paid something to have those amenities. And I think it brought a sense of respect for my mom and integrity and a little bit of dignity.
Mm-hmm.
But had she not been pushed into it a little bit, she would have loved to have stayed beside Beacon Hill Park in Victoria.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a super important message for all of us to hear.
You know? And I agree, like it's important to feel empathetic, but at the same time, I think most of us, survival is, we find a way.
Mm-hmm.
We do find a way to survive. So sometimes if you're pushed in a healthy way,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like the people in the tents to me are on a totally different level. But in an RV, we have skills and we have a mobile home, which means we are able to migrate.
Yeah.
And most of them are movable.
For sure. Thank you. And before I finish, I just wanted to say that I wanted to reassure you that we are, as a council, are actually actively working on this constantly. And there's a number of things in development that we're not at liberty to tell you about at the moment, that, we're working on with others, provincial government included. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to announce some things in the coming months. So it's not like we're not hearing about the problem. We all want to help it for businesses there as well as the people in need. So thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Frankie and Leah, for coming. Very important what you're talking about. A certain amount of what you've described as criminal activity. I'm just wondering if you could comment on the presence or absence of police response.
They've been called numerous times. I've witnessed in front of the ICBC. Again, it's the same area of people that I mentioned earlier that are a little bit more sketchy, I guess is the word, or violent. They got into a brawl. There was 5 of them, and there was dogs and an axe. So that's when I saw the axe, I called. But they were all back there later that day. And it was the 2 brothers also that were involved.
Did the police respond? Is it your sense that the police?
Yeah, they did respond. I feel like not absolutely zero got changed.
I think their hands are tied on honestly as much as your guys's are. I even have video footage of them breaking into a car on my lot, and it's like I know these two guys. I know what trailer they're in. I know everything, and it's like it's theft, it's vandalism, it's everything, it's break and entry, and the response I got from the RCMP was like, they need to be wearing the exact same clothes that they were in the video. You need a serial number of the item that was stolen, and we need a purchase receipt, and then we can file charges. I'm like, this is break and entry. Like I don't know what else, and I have it. I know who they are. I don't know what else you want from me. But that's just how far it goes, right? So it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. So so RCMP do come. Eventually, I was chased in that park that's in McKay Creek Park. A guy was exposing himself to me, and he was so out of it. And what scared me the most about that was like, I'm like, you don't know if I'm a 13-year-old girl or I'm an 80-year-old woman. Like, I'm just a person with blonde hair walking by, exposing yourself. When I called the RCMP to come, obviously, they told me to stand there and wait in the park. They're like, well, where is he? I'm like, park. He's here. Like, go down 14th Street. It's right here. Like, well, can you wait at the entry for me? No. Like, what do you mean? So it's just like, I don't feel that support. And this is, I guess, part of our frustration as well, that I had somebody peering in my window at my business, big glass window, and I can see them clear as day looking in like this. I called the police 3 hours before somebody showed up. It's night. I'm by myself at my business. Like that's not cool.
Amanda's having the same problem. She owns what is it called? Shift Dance Academy. She's got hundreds of girls dancing there. We actually have a photo of a guy chasing. I don't have the photo of him chasing. I have a photo of the guy. He used to dress in a unicorn's outfit. He would chase the girls, and she had the same problem with the police. It took forever for them to get here. She was actually supposed to be here tonight, but unfortunately she couldn't make it. But you're more than welcome to reach out to Amanda. She'll have many stories for you at Shift Academy.
Yeah. But I used to have a nail salon there, and a nail salon right beside my auto shop, because Motors and Manicures is super cool. But I had a really hard time hiring girls to come work for me, because they leave late at night. The salon closes at 9. And it's dark, and how many people would be out walking around. I had one girl that was chased, and I couldn't keep staff. And actually, Amanda couldn't get anyone to cover her shift tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know but it's just like, we need support.
Yeah. There's, I have a list as well of all the businesses with children. There's the Van Lena Dance Academy that I think has 400 rotating children that go through there. There's a few daycares. There's the music school. It looks like an industrial area, but there's a lot going on in there. So it just needs a little bit of attention. Honestly, like I feel like we've been forgotten in that area. We've been emailing for a long time. Jordan has been great. He's been coming down to see, and every time I've asked him to come, he's been there. But we do feel a little neglected as far as the District of North Vancouver paying attention to us.
You, yeah. Councillor Hanson, you're complete.
Very much for your responses. It's all very useful. Thank you.
Councillor Ma.
Thank you. It's been a while, but my wife brought her car to your shop way back.
I hope the car's still okay.
It's great, but we did sell it for EV. As you know, it took a while, but this council worked to clear some of the RVs from Floyd Avenue. We work with Tennis Center, local businesses, To do that, I'll be upfront. We knew there was going to be impact. I live close by, so I go by there quite a bit. Tennis center, I'm glad you're here tonight to tell us about it, but for the most part, it seemed to work. But the impact has been on businesses, and Councilor Forbes and I have met with some businesses on Pemberton Avenue. There's a mortgage broker on there that we've talked to, and she's mentioned similar stories. What I'm trying to say to you is, we hear you, and we did some work around the tennis center, and we'll see what we can do for the rest of the area. But it's also not this in this part of the district. At one time, there were 75 identified RVs, I believe, throughout the district.
83.
Right, but
I have mapped. Yeah.
When it came before council about a year ago, it was about 75. So, yes, I'm trying to figure out, other than getting awareness, police and our bylaws to relook at this, what other things do you think might work besides checking on the doors at night? I'm just trying to see if there's any other ideas that you have.
I think timed parking. As much as I don't want timed parking, because it's honestly just means more parking tickets and stuff for us when we don't, get too busy and move. But I would rather deal with that than deal with what we're dealing with. It seems to have worked, but again, if we can't move them, if they're unwell in a timed parking, then I don't know if that's the answer.
I think also you need to talk to C-SPAN and the wastewater plant.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great that they want to house their employees, but most businesses don't do that, and you have to commute.
Okay.
I mean, that's the bottom line. If it means you have to commute from Coquitlam because you can find cheaper rent, that's what you do. Mm-hmm. If it means you have to take a ferry earlier in the morning and you're on a contract, that's what you do. I mean, I know a wonderful old lady that works at Tim Hortons, and she commutes from Delta every day.
Okay.
I also
don't understand the difference.
I think they should be putting the money back into the community too and paying the expensive rent here that everybody else is. They're making enough money. They can pay it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Back, we're at about a half hour on the item, but Councillor Back.
Mayor Little, I know you're on the police committee, I think, as well as yourself, Councillor Hansen. We do have a new officer in charge at the RCMP, and while this isn't under our purview here at the district, I'm wondering if we might be able to help facilitate a meeting with yourselves and anyone from your group and Superintendent Mainweathering. I also know she's got a lot of experience in this area, so I think it might be beneficial, and if we could try to help facilitate that, it would be good.
Definitely support that connection. And yes, back when Superintendent Mainwaring was Staff Sergeant Mainwaring, that area was the area that she was involved with. So she does know it well and probably knows some of the same players since that time. We can definitely engage our new superintendent on that issue. We share your frustration. Our police share your frustration. I've recently done a ride along with our officers, and it's the number of people that come up in their system, particularly as unwanted mail, at any given time, even though we were constantly going to different places to move people along, there was 9, 10, a dozen that were popping up throughout the course of the evening. And so it's a big challenge for businesses acutely in your neighborhood, but across the district of North Vancouver in general as well.
We have become known as a place where it's easy to live in your RV. Yeah. I talked to a gentleman who moved from East Vancouver, and all he did was Google where is the best place to live in an RV. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that area popped up. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have to move along, but thank you very much for your presentation. Council, delegation's been moved. Is there a seconder? Second. call the question on receipt. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Thank
On
you.
behalf of the council, thank you very much for your delegation.
Have a good night.
Right. We have item 6, which is a release of closed meeting decision. That's noted in the package there for you. Then I'm going to move on to item 8, which is reports from council or staff. And the first item under 8 is 8.1 business license for Jasmin Childcare Center at 2504 Swinburne Avenue. And go. We have additional comments from staff to start us off, please, Sarah.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council and the public. Before you this evening is an application to amend the business license for Jasmin's Childcare Center located at 2504 Swinburne Avenue to increase the license capacity from 8 children to 16 children. At a public meeting that was held on December 2nd, 2025, we received community input on the proposed amendment. At the meeting, two members of the public spoke, both in support of the application, and 8 written submissions were also received, all in support. At that meeting, council also requested clarification regarding the adjacent land beside the property. Staff can confirm that this land is district-owned and is classified as an unopened lane. The applicant has confirmed that a new fence will be constructed entirely within their property line. Based on the review of the application and public input received, staff recommend approval of the business license amendment, and staff are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hanson, I see your hand up.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Giving a staff recommendation, second by Councillor Back. Councillor Hanson, your comments, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm pleased to support this business license amendment to allow for expanded capacity at Jasmin's Daycare Center at the corner of Swinburne and Berkeley. The amendment will allow for 16 children instead of 8, as currently, with the additional children being aged 30 months to school age. This will allow the children already at daycare to remain as they age. The need for daycare facilities of this type are well known. I am not aware of any community opposition to this daycare and this expansion. The proponents have earned an excellent reputation as daycare providers, as has been presented to us, and I'm very happy to support the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Back, your comments.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Little. Not too much to add. The feedback from the families and the neighbors was overwhelmingly positive. So it's clear that the center is providing high quality care that fits within this part of the community. And I like also the fact that the families that are already at that daycare, many of them can stay on as their kids get older. So happy to support the staff recommendation.
Thank you. I don't see any other council members wishing to speak. I'll just add my comments. You know, I was the one who raised some of the issues about the controls, the fencing in and around the neighborhood. I just happen to think that it's important around a daycare facility to have up-to-date management of the fence and the area around it. So that's managed properly. So I'm glad to hear that that's been committed to. I'll be supportive of the expansion from 8 to 16. Anybody else like to address the matter? I'm prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. All right, moving on to item 8.2, People, Dogs, and Park Strategic Plan. Starting with a presentation from staff.
Your Worship.
That's from Ms. Jackson.
Thank you so much. I'm just, as the staff get settled, I just wanted to introduce Mr. McInnes, Park Designer, along with Mr. Vatsilovich with Parks Planning and Mr. Jenkins, Manager of Parks, and just wanted to just give a brief introduction. So the need for this strategy was first identified in the district's parks and open space strategic plan. And really the purpose of this plan is to provide a high level framework to guide our work in this area over the next 5 to 10 years. Mr. McInnes has a very brief presentation, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. McInnes. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. As Caroline mentioned, my name is Graham McInnes. I'm a parks designer with the district. And tonight we are presenting the People, Dogs and Parks Strategic Plan for your consideration. The need for this work was first identified in the district's Parks and Open Space Strategic Plan, which was approved by Council in 2012. And we began the development of this strategic plan in 2023. Its purpose is to help guide how parks and trails are planned and managed so they remain safe and enjoyable and sustainable. Our approach had three main steps. First, we reviewed current conditions and trends related to dogs and parks. Second, we gathered input to understand community values, priorities, and challenges. Third, we then drafted this strategic plan with clear goals and recommended planning initiatives. As our community continues to grow and become more urban, more people and their dogs are sharing our parks and trails. Through engagement and analysis, we heard a number of recurring themes. Some of these included dog waste, dog owners not following regulations, environmental impacts as well. And the goal of the strategic plan is to continue to provide safe and enjoyable recreational experiences. It outlines planning initiatives to guide our work over the next 10 years, helping us respond to changing use in parks. And public input was central to this work. More than 4,300 people participated across 2 rounds of engagement. About 80% of respondents were district residents. We also had a number of meetings with the Parks and Natural Environment Advisory Committee, PNIAC, where they provided advice and support. Some of the key community values identified during engagement included opportunities to connect with nature, shared responsibility for creating welcoming and inclusive parks, and existing off-leash trails are highly valued. The People, Dogs, and Parks Strategic Plan is a roadmap to guide our work over the next 10 years, and it includes short and longer-term priorities that would proceed through the district's regular budget and policy processes. Thank you very much, and we are happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you very much. Just to put it on the floor, I'll be moving the staff recommendation. Is there a seconder on the matter? Councillor Hanson first. You seconding the matter? Okay. Okay. Oh, you're not seconding the matter?
Councillor Back seconded.
Okay, there you go. Councillor Back, sure. All right. Yeah, just some of my own comments on it. I mean, obviously parks are a big part of our community. It's one of the defining features as you come into the district of North Vancouver. I know we've commented about Dirk Ustindi, one of our previous park managers, a number of times when he came to the district, we had something like 12 parks, and by the time he left, we had something like 80 parks, and many of which were very unique on the West Coast with their themes and features and services. And it also led to us becoming really early pioneers in the mountain biking as we also moved with that same kind of approach to the wild wilderness lands up there. So I'm very glad to see us putting all of this together. I'll be fairly brief on it. I will say that I noted specifically the community consultation piece in the dog portion made a distinction between 5.1, which was about general consultation with the community about parks as having a biennial meeting that you'd have an update on parks generally. And then there was another item that was talking with West Vancouver and other groups about general licensing issues. And what I don't want to have lost in that is that we've heard tonight the commercial dog walkers have quite a few questions and concerns about how we're supporting their businesses with access points and other things as well. And so if you tell me that the licensing discussion will also include other things other than licensing, general access issues, support for the commercial dog walkers, I'm happy with them using the 5.2 opportunity for an expressed public meeting. And I encourage you to take put that in the calendar as quickly as you can. But if that's not the intent of the meeting, you want to just talk about licensing specifically, then I would encourage you with your 5.1 meetings to start right out of the gate with something very focused on commercial dog walkers. The commercial dog walker licensing is something I got very involved in when I first came on council in 2005. We set up the regulations for commercial dog walkers in the community, the numbers of dogs that could be walked, how you show that you are a commercial dog walker, and setting out regulations for responsible commercial dog walkers in our community. And it was certainly something that's grown a lot since that time. We've always had the challenge that we're also on the province's doorstep for BC Parks and other lands that are controlled by them or Metro Vancouver's controlled lands. And so we have some challenges in managing the interaction with those other land managers in the region, where the province on Crown property is fairly hands-off. And so really our regulation stops at when they enter the trail. And so I do want to support appropriate enforcement there to make sure that people understand the regulations. It's frustrating to hear that people might be just using a service. I think I don't want to say the specific service, but using a service to find dog walkers who are unlicensed dog walkers in the community. That's very concerning, but it also sounds like an opportunity for our own enforcement to engage with people who are identifying themselves in that way. And so I'd like to see that addressed. The other question I have about dogs specifically that comes up to my office on a regular basis is school properties. And I would really like to see us pursue with the province of BC an agreement where they allow us to enforce our bylaws on their school properties. Because as it stands right now, it's their regulations for public property, which are absolutely inadequate, that are enforced in effect on school district properties. And so I'd like to see us pursue with the provincial government a way for our bylaws to be enforced on their properties, which I understand you can do by agreement. They just have to allow us to. I'll probably go on to my 2 minutes. Yeah, I can. So I'd like to see us take that as an initiative to add our enforcements to school properties. People find it absolutely unreasonable that when they take their kid to a neighborhood playground and they have a problem with an aggressive dog, they want to call the DNV animal control. And it's absolutely unsatisfying when our person says, terribly sorry, our bylaws aren't enforced in effect on school district properties. They don't understand it. The schools themselves don't understand it. They'll actually tell people, well, you need to call DNV animal control, and because they don't understand that it's actually not in our jurisdiction. And so we need to get the permission from the provincial government to make it our jurisdiction. More broadly on parks, the one thing I would just say we need more consideration for and opportunity for. I have 4 kids. I remember when they were all little and you would have one kid at the park for a sports tournament and then you got to manage the other ones. And we tend to make things too complex sometimes. We should have little micro parks for different age groups in those kinds of spaces so that a family can go watch the soccer game, watch the baseball game, and still be able to have, the high energy kids have a little bit of a space. But I often think when we look at it, we go, oh, it's got to be a fairly fancy park with quite a few different features and others. And I think really what parents are looking for in that is just a safe place that they can keep an eyeball on. They don't have to have the kids be a block and a half away. And so looking for, again, small, simple, not over-engineered solutions. Not the way we used to do it. I mean, I grew up playing tag on asbestos concrete pipes provided by the District of North Vancouver, which is probably not a great thing. But that was, my counting is getting better every day. But Trillium Park, that's what it was. It was 4 sections of asbestos concrete pipe, and our pipe fitters produced the swing set and everything else. So we certainly can achieve a higher standard than that, but sometimes the perfect is the enemy of the good. And if we're over-engineering those spaces, we actually don't end up with enough of those spaces. So, but I do appreciate the work that went into this and think that it generally represents what I hear in the community about the priorities for our community. And so I'll be happy to support it. Councillor Bax, seconder.
Thank you, Mayor Little. Thank you very much, Mr. McGinnis, for the presentation, and thank you to staff for the work here. This represents over 2 years of work, really, to get to this point with our People, Dogs, and Parks strategic plan. I was just struck by some of the numbers in the report, approximately 1 dog for every 5 residents, highlighting how central dogs are to life in the district. By my calculation, that's roughly 18,000 dogs potentially that exist in the district. And tens of thousands of, a lot of doodles, by the way, I see them, and tens of thousands of daily park users when you include dog owners, families, commercial dog walkers, etc. So this is really an important topic for us to be addressing and a conversation for us to be having. Over 4,300 people took part in some aspect of the engagement. I have to think that's one of the highest engagement, some of the highest engagement numbers we've ever seen by any initiative from the district. So kudos to staff on that. And again, just highlights how important the issue is. Lots of agreement. It said 80% agreement with the overall vision and guiding principles of the plan, and a 10-year strategy with 29 actions and those 8 high priority actions over the next 3 years or so. I support all the high priority actions. I strongly support prioritizing off-leash dog areas and dog waste bins in town centers, as those were our high density areas in the district, and I think there's a real lack of amenities for dogs. We know that lots of people living in new high rises and in denser spaces have dogs, but they don't have those amenities to be able to use. And at a relatively low cost, capital cost, I think we can deliver some of these, relatively easily. Belle Isle Park was noted as costing about $100,000. That's not a small amount of money. It's also not a massive amount of money when you look at some of the other capital projects. And so I think, given the significant public benefit and the fact that we heard from as much of the community as we did, I think we should be prioritizing these. You have suggested 6 new off-leash areas in the plan, and I would urge us to try and move forward on as many of them as we can, as quickly as we can. I'm glad Mayor Little commented on the commercial dog walking program. As we heard tonight from the commercial dog walking business owners, they need to have their voice heard at the table each and every time we're discussing these sorts of issues that directly impact their business. And if we're talking about regular biannual meetings, I would please encourage staff to make sure that the commercial dog walking community is at the table. As we heard tonight, some of these trails that, we've decommissioned some for reasons that I think in some cases do make sense for the majority of time. But when we have alternate trails and they're just clearly not safe for their staff, we have to be addressing these issues. So that would be my comment on that. But I have to say, I agree with really all of the actions in the plan, things like increasing wayfinding within our parks as it relates to dogs. I think we should be doing that for sure, and having consistent signage and being able to have a resource, whether it's a web page, and we do have resources on our website, but I think actually having a dedicated site or resource for people that is everything to do with dogs in the district, and an easy way to access that. Maybe it's utilizing QR codes or whatnot throughout our parks, but we have to communicate clearly where those off-leash areas are, where those areas are where we are protecting habitat, etc. And we do have a long history of humorous signage, as we've talked about. Our sign maker of the day, Cameron Stewart, was well known for his work in this area. So it'd be neat to see some of that come back as it relates to this. Other ideas I thought were really good as well: a volunteer-based dog stewardship program. Another great idea. If you want to reach people, just head to Princess Park or many other parks at certain times of day, and you'll be able to reach that community quite easily. I also like the clear measurement and KPIs. I think it's important for any plan to have clear ways of measurement so that we know 3 years, 5 years, 10 years in if the plan is actually successful or not. Just some of my other issues. One was if we've engaged with the local business community at all in devising this, or our economic development manager. just around some of the bylaws around dogs and businesses, and some that we may want to look at updating. That's again just more of a comment right now. And finally, the issue of off-leash trails is a big one, I think. I live near Hunter Park, and that's a park where dogs are allowed off leash and for the most part. And I know people really value those, and some of them have been decommissioned. So wondering if we are giving some thought to that as well, areas where we can introduce some more off leash trail opportunities. But overall, I think it's an excellent plan. I do support the short-term actions, and I'm really glad that we've reached this point. So thank you very much to staff for all the work that's gone into putting it together.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Pope.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all the work that's gone into the report. I want to start by acknowledging the depth of public engagement that went into this work. The feedback that we heard was consistent and clear. Residents are frustrated by dog waste not being picked up, by a lack of compliance with existing regulations, and by impacts on environmentally sensitive areas. What I struggle with is that these issues are not being caused by the majority of dog owners. Most dog owners are responsible, follow the rules, and value our parks just as much as non-dog owners do. The challenge we are trying to solve is really about a small number of negligent users. Yesterday, during a break in the rain, I walked up Mosquito Creek, and I love it there because it's full of people walking their dogs, and I used to be one of them. And as always, there were plenty of dogs both on and off leash, and everybody was getting along just fine, and owners were picking up their doggy poop and enjoying the beautiful park, which is the norm there, and I suspect the norm at most other parks. So my concern is that if we're not careful in implementation, we risk creating broader restrictions that disproportionately affect responsible dog owners while failing to meaningfully challenge the behavior of those who already ignore the rules. I do not want to see us reduce off-leash opportunities as a default response when the underlying issue is compliance and enforcement. I appreciate that the strategic plan emphasizes education and targeted enforcement, and that matters, and so does ongoing engagement. I'm also concerned that any changes will impact commercial dog walking businesses, as they are an important service that is very much in demand and needed in North Van. And I also think it's critical that we communicate clearly that adopting this plan does not mean the loss of existing off-leash access, and that any site-specific changes must come back to council with evidence and community input. And so with that lens, I support the strategic plan as a framework, with the expectation that responsible dog ownership is encouraged and protected, and that enforcement and education remain the priority or the primary tools for addressing the issues residents raised. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Councillor Pope. Councillor Mah.
Thank you. Just want to thank the staff for their work on this. I wasn't raised with a family dog, although my daughter wanted one when she was younger. I have spoken to a few friends who are dog owners to get their thoughts on the strategy. And what I do know is that for many people, dogs are family. And as our community grows, we need to find ways to share our outdoor space with all the users in our parks and on our trails. It has been pointed out before, I do appreciate the approach taken by staff, whereby to facilitate behavioral change, the focus is on education. And the plan is pretty comprehensive, but I do have a couple of questions. In looking at the 8 priority short-term action items, they seem more specific to dog parks. Or are there action items that are pertain more to dogs on trails and off-leash areas?
Yeah, I would say there's a few there that are relevant to trails. you would want to review comprehensively the dog tax and regulation bylaw 5981 and suggest some revisions to that, which includes all parks and trails in the district. And then also taking a comprehensive look at the commercial dog walking program as well, which is relevant to trails. Developing and implementing a targeted communication program could involve temporary signage or permanent signage across the district, as well as more information online, social media campaign to help get the information out there, and identifying key areas and parks to focus enforcement and education. So that could be also district-wide, whether that's a park or a trail.
Just looking at some numbers, 29 action items over 10 years. I appreciate that it's broken up into short-term, medium-term, and long-term. It just seems like 10 years is quite far out there. I mean, we look at our OCP again after, I guess, 10 or so years. I was wondering what the criteria that was used to select the 8 short-term action items.
Sure, yeah. In the first round of engagement,
just to follow up, was cost a big factor when you looked at the selection of the 8 items?
It was a consideration, but I think mostly it was, we tried to gauge the community's or their level of importance for those items. So we asked various questions in the first round of engagement just to clarify or get a better understanding of what topics were most important to residents. So that definitely played a role in determining what should be done first versus later. But wouldn't say so much the cost.
Okay. Because I do notice a lot of the top items tend also to have a low cost impact.
They're definitely like quick win solutions, some of them, so they could be implemented sooner.
Okay, great. As mentioned earlier, 1 dog for every 5 residents, and it's either 18 or 20,000 dogs in the district. I was curious, how many dog licenses have we issued?
It's a good question. I think I have that number here somewhere. So 2025, there was 5,995 licensed dogs in the district.
So you can see from
okay,
there's not a lot of licensed dogs out there.
Help me to understand something. Someone asked me this today. Why do we license dogs? And to be honest, I didn't have a good answer. I would say it's in case the dog does something, behavior, and we wanted to know who it was, we can see it. But why do we license dogs?
I would say that's the main reason, so we can connect the owner to the dog and vice versa. That's how you would do that for if you're registering anything. That's the main purpose. Yeah.
So I was just wondering when there's one of the recommendations. Sorry, I don't remember the number, but looking at dog bylaw 5981, it talks about a review and update. Would part of looking at increased compliance with registering dogs be part of that review?
Yeah, we would want to.
Good answer.
Licensing, but I will say we did a review of other municipalities and their licensing numbers, and the district's actually doing quite well in comparison to some others. So there's always room for improvement, but compared to others, we were doing fairly well.
We also do have a program, I believe, in the summer. People go door to door looking for people to license their dogs. So it's quite active. That's through the bylaw services. They have someone going door to door looking for people to sign up for their dogs.
Okay. Yeah. I did notice a dog license for dogs that are spayed or neutered. It's $55 a year, and up to today, there's still a $14 discount if you register today. So I guess that's part of our strategy to encourage registration. Okay. If the team has done good work, and I support the overall plan by the staff. Thank you.
Both of my dogs are licensed, and I got the new tags a couple of weeks ago, so I'm good.
Save $14. That's good.
I've got Councillor Hanson next, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you for your good work on this report. I do support the plan. Also, thank you to members of my council who have commented. My comment is about the licensing fees, and I think one of the reasons we have the licensing fees, in answer to a question that was just made, is for the revenue. I mean, 1 in 5 persons in the district own dogs, and yet dogs put the district to a significant expense. And much of what I see in this report is that in order to minimize the negative impact on dog owners on others, we need to spend certain money in certain areas of enforcement and elsewhere. I mean, I can say that anecdotally, the areas of complaint that I hear about dogs is dog waste and the environmental impacts of that, and also, well, the environmental impacts, and also aggressive interactions between unlicensed dogs and people. And you discussed that. But coming back to the issue of dog licensing, so 1 in 5 people have dogs, and yet the district bears this cost, and done property, the cost will be rising with respect to dogs in the district. And I would like to ensure that in the bylaw review, that you turn your mind to whether the licensing fees, both commercial dog walkers, but also just the resident licensing fees, are adequate in aggregate to cover what we consider to be the incremental costs imposed on the district by dogs. Dogs should pay for dogs. I think in the modern world, given all the fiscal pressures that we face and the tax increases that we're imposing on our residents, we should ensure that those tax increases are not to pay for dogs in the district. Dogs in the district should be paid by dog owners. Dog owners, yes. Well, if the dogs want to contribute, that's fine too. So, and that comes back to the enforcement point as well. You said that there's 20% of the district have dogs. Just doing the math roughly, but it sounds like about it's something like a half or a third of dog owners have licenses. Is that right? So I'd like to see greater enforcement to ensure that, and I heard the comments with respect to unlicensed commercial dog walkers. Again, we don't want that. People who are having dogs in the district should be licensed. And I'd like to look at the, I see that a male or female spayed dog is $55, not spayed is $109. A young dog is $55, and aggressive dogs are $130. I'd just like to, in the bylaw review, which I know is discussed in your report, consider whether those amounts are, and same applies to the commercial dog fees, which are larger and perhaps harder to calculate what the impacts are. But I'd just like to see overall dog licensing fees covering what we consider to be the incremental costs of having dogs in the district. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor Little. Thank you, staff, for all your work. It's been a long process. I sit on PNIAC for the district, and we've seen this a few times and provided our comments. I have to say I'm a bit disappointed this didn't go to a workshop, because I think this is a lot of information to cover off. I get 6 minutes, and the devil's in the details. On Wednesday, as somebody brought up, I get to, as a member of the Metro Vancouver Parks Committee, sit and talk about Pacific Spirit Park. And a couple of years ago, we began a review of that single park and had the largest public engagement in the history of Metro Vancouver on one park and one set of trails. We had 5,600 completed questionnaires and 722 emails and letters for one park. And over the last several days, I have about 400 emails in my inbox because we got it wrong. So I want to say that we have to tread very carefully as we move into our parks and the issue of dogs, because what we think may work may not come to pass. And I think Metro's recent experience with what's happened since the report on the review of trails and on-leash and off-leash trails for dog walkers and residents and visitors, we took an approach based on all of that input for over 2 years. And we have quite a significant system of parks throughout Metro Vancouver. We tried to balance it, and we are actually on Wednesday, I believe the Parks Committee is going to give district or Metro staff direction to relax some of the zones that we've restricted, because we want to continue to engage in the community. And, you know, I think the report has a whole bunch of high-level ideals in how we think we should approach things. But I will tell you, the people that know those parks are the ones that are in them every single day. And those are the people that we need to communicate with the most. I'm not sure that we understand, and I say this with great respect, but I am not sure that we understand necessarily how those parks work on a regular basis. I think from our experience, we believe that we understand how they work. But looking at it and actually living it are two different things. And I think that's why with some of these goals, I think we're going to run into some challenges. And I think what's going on at Metro Vancouver right now in regards to Pacific Spirit is a big flag that we need to pay attention to. We have a significant amount of staff in that area. All they do is look after parks. The system is broken into areas, as you may know, and they're in there all the time. And still, how it's being recommended from an operational perspective is creating a lot of divisiveness. So I'll take my other 2 minutes, but I just find this very inadequate to talk about what this is really about. You know, there's dog walking companies. I was on council when we created this system, and it has grown exponentially. Licenses. It's fine, my phone's on. We have. Can you stop? I think hello? Hello? Hello?
Okay, well, it looks like we had a temporary technological impact and
Hello? Oh. Hello, Houston. Okay, start my time over.
it also looks like the stream did continuously run while we weren't.
So I just, you know, I don't understand what role council's going to play in this. To Councillor Pope's point, what role are we going to play in this? What is the priority? Where is the inventory? Where is the understanding of what's going on in the trail system right now? How many commercial dog walking licenses do we give out? How many do we have in the system that aren't licensed, you know, with those issues that have been brought forward this evening? You know, what is the cost of the existing maintenance on the existing system without adding more inventory of ways to address the needs of dogs? You know, we talk about waste and the waste system and the concerns in regards to that. I had a concern where we're actually removing the cans on the trails. We used to have a volunteer dog bag program. That's kind of disappeared in certain areas. I don't know where that's gone. And then we talk about this idea of enforcement. I know that our rangers in summer are at their brink in dealing with just the numbers of people coming into the system, let alone enforcing the challenges around dogs. And so where is the program to increase enforcement? We've just heard through a delegation tonight that, enforcement sort of started down in Lloyd and Pemberton and off Marine Drive in regards to RVs, and it sort of petered off. So it's an enormous amount of work, and we want to put a vision forward. I'm not sure if dogs and parks in the district needs its own vision statement. I've always been a little bit confused about that. It's a parks vision statement. But I just, I don't know how council's going to be involved with these decisions, how you're going to determine where you're putting off-leash parks or contained parks to allow dogs off-leash. How is that going to impact the local park system? What about parking? What about access? All of these things. And then and I'll quickly end here, Mayor Little, sorry. You can do one walk. In my walk, I traverse multiple properties. I traverse the urban town center. I traverse our property. Then I go into Metro's Lower Seymour Conservation Reserve. Then I go into Lynn Canyon, then Headwaters, and then back into the demonstration forest. I still call it that, all in one walk. Where is the communication with all of those partners? And then the provincial government. How have we communicated with the provincial government on this? Because in the Seymour, you can do that all over again. You walk through BC Parks property, back to ours, private property, etc. So this is a lot of work. I don't have a lot of details. I have a vision, but I really would like an opportunity in the future for you to come and so we can have a more robust conversation rather than 6 minutes, because I don't think it does the work justice, and I don't think we really understand the details. And there's devil in details, as the Metro Parks Committee are going to find out on Wednesday.
Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor Forbes, comments, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. A lot of points I was going to raise have been talked about, but there's about 4 or 5 points that I've been a lifelong dog owner, and occasionally a cat owner in there too. So I'm an animal lover. But a number of points that have been raised, I'd just like to re-emphasize. One of the first things that I hear about is there's not enough off-leash areas for dogs. And I'm talking mainly trails. This report seems to focus, even the title of it, People's Dogs and Parks, it doesn't say trails. So what goes on in the trails, whether it be that people are leaving their waste bags thrown in the bush, whether it's an aggressive dog that's gone after another dog, or whether it's a person that has gotten injured trying to save their dog from another dog. So there's a lot. That's the area that people are really, really concerned, which also brought me to the question in your report where you say that you're going to focus on town centers, these 6 new. I'm a bit confused. I can sort of understand where there's the taller buildings and people would obviously, well, not obviously, there's a lot of doodles in those small apartments, but usually there's smaller dogs in those apartments. So I can understand with the town centers like Lower Lynn or like Lions Gate that you would put maybe a dog park, smaller dog park in there and fenced off and everything, and it was probably more suitable for small dogs. Which means, though, that you still have to have the park trails for the larger dogs. The dog waste infuriates me as a dog owner because I'm going around picking up my dog's waste and I get furious when I see bags just thrown everywhere. They're on the sidewalk, they're in the bush, they're in somebody's yard. It's just bad. So I would like to try to figure out if there's something that we can do about the dog waste. But I did notice a comment you made in the report. It says funding for the dog waste. Do you have any recommendation Or what are you thinking of when that's in the report?
Yeah, to your worship, I can speak to that. There is a comment in the report about the current pilot program, and we're just working with the finance team just to see how we can look at securing some more permanent funding for that program. It's really just speaking to how we separate the dog waste from other waste materials in the waste stream.
Okay, so it's not like it's separation after it's been picked up.
Through your worship to Councillor Forbes, well, I don't want to go through the whole process from start to finish, and probably people don't want to hear it, but essentially it's the red bin program, essentially.
I'm just wondering if every park I go in, usually there's free dog bags. Do we still do that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I have a question about timing of how long it takes to get these things done. And I appreciate how much work you did. This is a huge report. There's a lot of information in here and you did it really well. But it started being dealt with in 2012 and we're in 2026. And when I look at your timelines for short term is 1 to 3 years, medium 4 to 6 years, and long term is 7 to 10 years. Why does it take so long? It's not like we're building high rises in town centers for the dogs. Why does it take so long to do this?
Well, a lot of the programs that heard council talk about tonight about education and enforcement, those involve a coordinated approach with bylaw enforcement, parks, environment staff, and others like in Metro Vancouver and provincial parks as well. So it does take some time to coordinate with them, ensure that everything's communicated properly and clearly. So those do take some time to coordinate that. But those are the quick wins that we want to work on first, for sure.
So it's not the capital to actually deal with the parks as much as it is getting all the different people who are involved coordinated and informed. And speaking of construction, I was wondering on page 95, you're talking about down Belle Isle and it cost $100,000 down there. But then your last sentence in that paragraph says anticipated capital expenditures required, not including land, are estimated at between $600,000 and $900,000 to deliver this action. To me, that sounds like a gold standard. And I'm wondering if that's why we're taking longer to get things done, because we're going for the gold standard rather than maybe go for the copper standard. Is that like 900,000 for a dog park?
That would be for 6.
That would which?
For 6 of those dog off leash areas.
For all 6. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's a little bit better. Good. The other thing is, we had our emergency vet hospital on Capilano Road close. Are we doing anything to encourage, or have we had anyone approach the district about setting up an emergency hospital again in North Van?
Through your worship, I think that might be best directed to planning.
Okay.
If I see Mr. Dwyer is here.
Were you listening?
Thank you. Yes, listening intently. So that's correct. The operator did depart from that facility. I'm not aware whether there's an interested party going back in there, but we can follow up and report back to council separately on that.
Along with that, could you just tell me though, we used to rent the top floor of that too for dogs that were picked up by rangers and brought in. Where do we take dogs now?
We still have that. My understanding is we still have that.
So we're still renting that top floor even though there's no tenant down below?
That's my understanding. We actually, the weeks before the closure was announced, we were meeting with the person who was running the facility about expanding into some of the space that we have on the 3rd floor. And then all of a sudden they got notification from the corporation that bought them that they're shutting down. So it was quite out of the blue for everybody involved.
So how long a lease do we have there?
I can't remember. I was there with Janine Ryder, who does our leases. I just can't remember off the top of my head how much time is remaining on the lease that we have. I think it's long, but
I'd be interested to
information
find that out if we can find that out.
Yeah.
Because that's something that's going to be needed. So we need to know when it's going to end. I'm just going through my points here. I think I've made most of them.
Okay.
Yeah. I did, just based on the statistics we got from the dog walkers, and I was trying to think of how many dog walkers, if they were at their max. But what I did was I multiplied the 40 times the 4 walkers allowed time. Yeah, and I came up with 960 if every dog walker that's licensed.
The mouthing.
That I was going to make is that's the business side of it, and that doesn't even count just the everyday average pet owner. So there's a lot of use of our trails. And so I really would like to see more emphasis, not emphasis, but I'd like to see something more done about trails and off-leash areas and trails and accidents and things like that on trails, how to report those to whoever. Thank you. The report was very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Forbes. I see no further speakers on the matter. I'm prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much for your presentation. These 2 items should be relatively quick. Item 8.3, this is bylaws 8762, 8776, 8769, new fire and rescue services bylaw.
So moved.
This item is up for adoption, not for debate. It's been moved by Councillor Murray. Is there a seconder on the matter? Councillor Forbes, prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Same deal for 8.4. This is up for adoption. It's already been seen by the council. So it's been moved by Councillor Murray, second by Councillor Forbes. I'm prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. All right, that completes the regular business of this evening's meeting. Council, there is an opportunity for reports. Would any members of council like to make a report?
Adjournment.
Councillor Back?
Thank you. Just a very brief report, Mayor Little, of my attendance last Thursday at the HAVAN, that's the Home Builders Association of Vancouver's Legends of Housing dinner. They had a panel there. Ben Tadai, a partner at Conwest Developments, Gary Pooney of the Pooney Group, moderated by Scott Brown from Gandalf Holdings, just talking about the significant challenges that the industry is facing and will be likely for the next 2 years plus. Just an interesting event, just kind of learning about what some of the different challenges are. So that's it.
Thank you, Councillor. I will just make a quick report. Last week, or probably about 10 days ago, I was a part of a school blitz, road safety blitz at Argyle High School. I'd never covered a high school before. We mostly do the elementary schools. But again, it was very good to get out there with our transportation planning staff, police officers, safety people, and obviously representatives from the school district to look at the flow in and around those facilities and spaces. This is something that that we do in partnership with ICBC on a regular basis with our schools. In fact, in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be at Capilano Elementary School and Boundary Elementary School as well. I'll be in your neck of the woods in Pemberton Heights there. Again, the focus is to have a hyper focus on that one particular school and the surrounding curb space and management that goes down there. I've said before, if parents could, they'd drive right down the hallway and drop their kid off at the classroom. It's a real big challenge at a lot of our elementary schools where they're quite chaotic at coming and going. And some of them, Capilano Elementary School, as an example, kids come from all different directions to the school because it's basically the whole block. And so the access points are everywhere with the facility. And so managing it doesn't just mean managing immediately outside the school. It means managing all of the access points and spaces around it and making sure that they're safe enough for our kids. I just want to encourage members of council, if you want to participate in the road safety blitzes, we are happy to connect you up with those to get a particular look at a particular school when they come up. We rotate through pretty much all of the schools every single school year at some point for this, and they have the schedule posted. So if you want to get involved in that, I'm more than happy to connect you up with that. Other than that, I have no more reports. I see no more reports around the table. Accept adjournment. Thank you very much to our staff for preparation for the reports or consideration. Thank you to members of the public for coming out and sticking with us through the evening. Thank you, council, for the progress on these important issues. Everybody have a fantastic week. Good night.